Hi, my name is Chris, and I'm the guy that runs a YouTube art channel that makes zero money. Today, we're going to sculpt the Doom Guy toy. Alright, blast the metal, tighten your gloves, and let's sculpt something violently beautiful. Let's get started with sculpting the legendary Doomslayer helmet. We begin with an egg shape, because every brutal demon slaying helmet starts off as something that could have been breakfast. Since this build is mostly hard surfaces, sharp edges are everywhere, which means the knife tool is your new best friend. I'm making slanted cuts to give the illusion that the surface is elevated, like raised armor panels. Some fans believe the metal music in Doom isn't the soundtrack, it's just Doomslayer's brain radio while he's redecorating hell with demon guts. Such a badass dude. He doesn't even blink, he just reloads. Right now, we're blocking in his cute little cheeks. Yes, even demon slayers deserve good cheekbones. I'm cutting the cheek armor into shape first. Gotta get those contours right before adding the vents. Not sure why he needs those front vents. It's not like he's cruising down hell like a Lamborghini. But hey, who are we to question the great Doomslayer? He wants vents, he gets vents. I warned you, this build involves a lot of cutting and slicing. Think of it as a chef's knife commercial, but for demons. I'm adding a curve to the front of the mask to give it more shape and attitude. Forgive my fingers if they get in the way. They're kinda the stars of the show anyway. There's a ton of detail in this build, but we'll get through it, one piece of armor at a time. It's basically medieval Lego. I slapped a sheet of clay right on top of his head to start building that spiky mohawk. Here comes another heroic vent, because clearly forehead sweat is the Doomslayer's one true weakness. Not every armor panel needs to be a separate piece of clay. Sometimes a simple carved line does the trick. Here's something wild. Doomslayer didn't just wake up angry one day. Demons killed his rabbit. Her name was Daisy. And yes, her head shows up in Doom 2. That's not a backstory. That's a villain origin arc. Time to stick some cone shapes on his head, because nothing says, "Don't mess with me," like wearable traffic spikes. Not enough slicing action for you? Don't worry, I've got plenty more where that came from. Wanna sculpt like me and run an art channel that makes zero money? Step 1. Learn to use a knife. After finishing the head sculpt, which I refuse to show you just yet so you stick around till the end, I sketched out this super detailed body to figure out the size. Next up, I built a wire armature based on the sketch. Basically, it's the skeleton, but without the spooky part. Time to bulk it up with aluminum foil, because who needs muscles when you've got kitchen supplies? Now that the armature's figured out, we can toss that stupid sketch. Next, I slapped on the first layer of clay. This is where the magic starts and the mess continues. The environments in Doom are often hellish or sci-fi, but they don't scream metal concert. It's the Slayer's actions, his violence, speed, and rage that feel like music. The music reacts to him, not the world. With the base shape done, we can finally give this guy a chest plate. When you're working on something super detailed like this, don't overwhelm yourself. Just chunk it into bite-sized shapes. It's sculpting, not a boss fight. I made a hole for his energy core because every badass needs a glowing thing in their chest. Now it's time to work on his sexy abs, because even demon slayers need to look good shirtless. The Doomslayer never talks, so the soundtrack does the talking for him. And trust me, it's not whispering, it's screaming in 8-string guitars and molten hellfire. Let's move on to his boots. You know, the demon stomping, lava kicking, fashion forward kind. Alright, let's talk about the boots. Not just any boots. These are demon stomping, hell walking, ultra heavy duty battle boots. You don't just sculpt boots like these, you engineer them. Big chunky soles, armored plates, probably weigh more than a small child. I start with a blocky shape, just to get the size right. Then I carve out the angles, sharp, like they could kick open the gates of hell. And let's be real, they probably already did. Add some panel lines, some bolts, maybe a few scratches. He's not walking on clouds. This guy's been grinding through lava, guts, and heavy metal concerts. And I always exaggerate the size a bit, because in a character like this, the boots are part of the personality. He doesn't sneak around, he arrives. I added some cuts because I like my figures with a few battle scars. Makes them look like they've actually seen some action. So here's the story. One day the Doom guy is just casually strolling through hell, as you do, when he stumbles upon a mysterious dungeon. And suddenly Hellboy appears. Then he says,
Well, well, if it isn't Mr. Rips and Tears himself, you lost. Master Chief's angrier cousin. What are you doing in my dungeon?
Then the Doom guy says. Then Hellboy says,
Right, the strong, silent type. You always this cranky, or is it just leg day?
Then the Doom guy says. Then Hellboy says,
You know, I was having a peaceful day. Ate some spicy imps, wrestled a lava goat. But sure, let's fight. Maybe you'll finally smile.
So Doom guy pulls up with a shotgun. Not a hello, not a handshake. Just straight up demon diplomacy. And just like that, Hellboy's down. Doom guy barely broke a sweat. He scoops up some coins, loots the giant stone fist like it's a rare drop, and walks off like it was just another Tuesday. He didn't buy armor, nope. Doom guy took his boss fight coins and hit up the Essentials Fear of God shop. Nothing like fighting demons in overpriced, oversized shorts. So what does he get at Fear of God? A pair of shorts. Because why wear full armor when your calves deserve luxury too? So that's the story. Cool, right? Now, back to Playtown. Now instead of a classic medieval skirt, I'm giving him something way more stylish. A fancy branded shorts. We've got to add some contrast to this build. Some good old juxtaposition. Without it, it's just a half-decent knockoff of the figure. Let's talk about juxtaposition. Fancy word, I know, but it's one of the secret sauces to making a character feel unique. You take two things that shouldn't belong together, and you mash them into something weirdly perfect. I love using it in my figures because it grabs attention. People look at it and go, wait, what am I looking at? Is this cursed or cute? And that confusion? That's gold. That means they're hooked. So remember, juxtaposition isn't just about contrast. It's about unexpected harmony. Weird is memorable, and memorable is everything. After all that blabbering, look at that. We're already working on the gauntlet. Sculpting hands, don't panic. Just add some finger lines, slap on a separate thumb, and boom, close enough to fool the human eye. Threw in some tubes because nothing says tactical like mysterious pipes going nowhere. Oh, and spikes on the fist because what's a punch without a little medieval overkill? Now we're adding his sexy biceps. At this point, you'll notice the finished parts are already baked because I'm seriously running out of spots to hold without ruining the details. I've blocked out the shoulder armor and refined the shape to get that solid, structured look. That chunky shoulder armor? Oh, it's not just padding. It's home to his built-in shut-up cannon. Flames, grenades, micro-missiles, you name it, this thing launches it. Because why waste time aiming when your shoulder can do it for you? The Doomslayer's armor wasn't bought at a military surplus store. It was forged by an ancient alien priesthood that probably went, okay, this guy's too angry to die. Let's just make him indestructible. It boosts his power, keeps him alive. Time to crack open the multiverse. I'm slapping Hellboy's right hand of doom onto the Doomslayer. Alright, let's build Hellboy's hand. First we start with the basic cone shape. Next, I'm adding strips of clay around the cone to form those signature chunky segments. Then, I slap on a separate piece for the palm. And of course, we'll need those chopped off horn stubs on his knuckles. Can't call it Hellboy's hand without them. Next up, some swirly dilly magic lines. Because every powerful hand needs at least one ancient looking doodle. Then I added some cracks for that worn ancient look before going in with a crumpled aluminum foil to give it texture. drilled a hole so the hand can slide right onto his arm, simple and secure. And just like that, Hellboy's hand is now the property of the Doomslayer. Multiverse logic approved. Honestly, I'm too lazy to sculpt back armor, so we're just gonna slap a cape on and call it dramatic. I added the hoodie first, then started working in some furry textures across the cape to give it that cozy but apocalyptic look. At this point, you're probably getting sick looking on a headless dude. Let's fix that and pop his head on. You know what's missing? That's right, his chainsaw shield. So let's work on that next. Hold up! Before we dive into chainsaw madness, here's a few beauty shots of the raw sculpt. Unpainted, unfiltered, 100% clay glory. I collected all the round objects around my house, then prepare a thick enough sheet of clay and start cutting. Then I made a slightly smaller circle because we're stacking armor like a deadly pancake. Then I used a smaller round object to press in the inner panel line, just to give it that extra level of detail. I snatched this colorful ball from the kid next door to give my shield a slight curve. Then after all that, there is more cutting action. I added another round sheet of clay to create a base for the chainsaw teeth, because what's a chainsaw shield without bite? Alright, time to make the teeth, because what good is a chainsaw shield if it can't gnaw through a demon or two? After painstakingly cutting out all 12 teeth, I can finally start attaching them to the shield. Totally worth the hand cramps. To make the shield snap onto the gauntlet like magic, I'm using super strong neodymium magnets. I drilled on the gauntlet, insert the magnet inside, and cover the crime with an epoxy putty. Alright, it's painting time. Let's slap some color on this Doom dude and make him look extra dangerous. I'm starting with a rich blue for the eye shield, just to give it that intense, techie glow. Next up, I laid down all the greens on the armor. There's just something iconic about that Doomslayer green. It's not flashy, it's not clean. It's a color that says, I've seen things, I've ripped and torn through things. You spot that green, and you know who's coming. Next, I painted the metallic areas, using a mix of brown, black, and of course, silver, to give it that gritty, worn metal look. When painting figures, always start with your darkest colors and layer up to the lightest. It's easier to brighten things than to fix a dark smudge later. I went with the same brown for the boots and the cape because matching colors save fashion even when you're slaying demons. I gave the energy core a light spray of red to create that glowing effect, just enough to make it look like it's pulsing with power. I painted the Hellboy hand in red, then applied a really dark wash to bring out all the cracks and sculpted details. Next, I added some gold accents to give it a nice contrast and a more mechanical, armored look. I'm not a fan of squeaky clean figures, so I applied a grey wash over everything to give it that worn, weathered look. Then I added some silver scratches on the armor to really bring out that battle-worn, metal-on-demon action. Then I gave it my best shot at painting that iconic insignia on his shield. Tiny, tricky, but totally worth it. Then I added a little branding to his shorts, because even in hell, you've gotta rep your look. And just like that, we're ready for the final shots. Cue the dramatic lighting, and pretend I didn't try making this build. Thanks for watching, friends. If you learned something, or at least laughed once, hit that like button, and consider subscribing so I can keep making weird little clay monsters.